I was like, what was that?
I know. Freddie's been
So
back here.
if y'all are in Rank Makers, you probably already heard this. You're going to hear it again. But it was too good not to share. I even shared it with Brett in the car, even though he thought I was a little bit crazy. Because I'm all about the psychology behind things. He's not so much sometimes, so he thinks I'm dumb with some of the stuff I talk about. But were any of y'all on the training where Stacy talked about like the underlying question that you sabotage yourself? Okay. So Savannah, you've already heard this. But always hearing it from a different perspective sometimes triggers different things. Savannah, do you know your underlying question when she was talking about it? Like, have you figured yours out?
Excuse me, I just texted my mother and told her to mute herself. Yes. No, I know you're very much putting me on the spot. I remember the training and I had seriously, it had come to me, but apparently it didn't stick. So I need to go watch that again. So yes.
That literally is what I'm going to talk about tonight. So if you think of your underlying question, I'll have you share it at the end. It took me a little bit to get my question. I'm going to mute it. It took me a little bit to get my question. Is why I say that. Like she said, it takes some people a couple of days. It just took me a couple hours and it clicked and I was like, oh Lord, I'm so dumb. How have I not seen that before? It was like a huge in my face aha moment. So those of you who haven't watched it, which I don't think anyone else, put it in the chat if anyone else has watched it. So she was talking about how every single one of us operates from a place of like a certain question that comes up in our head all the time, or a statement that comes from something that happened as a child. And when she's saying this, literally, this was my thinking. I was like, I've done so much self-development. I have dealt with so many demons. Like, I've dealt with all this stuff already. Like, I feel like I don't have any underlying questions. Then she goes on to explain, like, I'm about to, and I was like, well, there's something else to deal with. Like, thanks for pointing that out, just when I thought, like, I was doing real good in my mindset. So she started out by telling hers, which I'm going to share with y'all. She was talking about how, as a child, her dad and her mom got divorced. I think she said around 7 or 8. So, like, at 7 or 8, you're very, very impressionable and very much can be made to feel guilty for things that are not your fault. So her dad left, moved across country, either got married or started dating another chick. I don't remember the details, but raised her 2 kids. Never came back and visited his own, but raised these other two kids as his own. And she said, so her underlying question was, why not me? And she carried that into adulthood, into all of her jobs, into everything, to where anytime she was up for a promotion and didn't get it, the question was, well, why not me? Like, what did I do that's not good enough? She was always operating out of a place of basically self-sabotage and like unbelief in herself, to the point where her thinking started saying, well, I'm not going to get picked anyways, before she even tried for whatever she was going to go for. So it evolved from a child feeling guilty to an adult thinking, well, I'm never picked for anything, to subconsciously sabotaging herself because she quit trying near as hard, because in her mind, she already knew she wasn't going to be picked. And so she's saying that. And then, and again, at that point, I'm thinking, okay, my dad left us when we were little several times and came back. And then he eventually left for good. But I never thought, why not me? Because I always thought, okay, my mom would always tell us, like, your dad's a D-bag. So, like, that was always, it wasn't ever our fault. It was kind of like, whatever. So I was like, well, that's not my question. And she went on, she explained a couple different ones. I'm trying to think what were some of her examples. Operating out of, like, there's never enough would be another one. Like, again, not really a question, but having the mindset of money goes as fast as it comes. So you're always spending, like bills are always coming in faster than the money's ever staying. So with money, my mindset with that is, and I say this is an affirmation, money comes as fast as it goes. Meaning I get it just as fast as I'm spending it, if not more. So I always have a surplus. Like I'm never in deficit with money. And that's something I've trained my brain to think. But some people operate out of the opposite, where they're always thinking it goes as fast as it comes. No matter how much I get, more bills are going to come in and take all of it. So I was just thinking, like, what is my underlying question? And I don't have an underlying question. I do have an underlying statement, and I've definitely sabotaged myself by thinking this. My underlying statement has always been, and I never even thought this until yesterday, I kind of put two and together, is it's more of a thought than a statement, I guess. But it basically is, don't get used to it because it's not going to last. Like, if it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true. So don't get used to it. It's not going to last. And when I was little, my mom, and some of y'all know my story, some of y'all don't, but we grew up very, very, very poor. Like, you look at the poorest family you know, and we were probably, 10 decimals under that, where we always were getting things repossessed. We got evicted so many times I can't even count. My mom a lot of times would just move before we could get evicted because it was easier than like being forced out. We just left before they could force us out because we just didn't pay our rent. Ate out of food banks all the time. Like, my husband jokes now, the very first meal I made him was macaroni and cheese and tuna. And it wasn't the good macaroni and cheese. It was like the 29-cent kind from the store with some off-brand tuna. Because when I was little, we were so poor, we did not eat meat a lot. Now, you wouldn't know it because none of us were skinny kids. But I guess when you eat beans and rice all the time, you're not going to be skinny. But, so my mom would get we called it commodities. I think now, or in a lot of states, y'all call it food banks. But we would get the food bank box, and they always had expired macaroni and cans of tuna. So we would have a lot of meals with expired macaroni and cans of tuna, and that would be like our, well-rounded diet. So it wasn't that, like, I never learned how to cook much, but it wasn't that I just didn't learn how to cook. I knew how to cook what we had. I could make hamburger helper, whatever the off-brand was with no hamburger. So noodles and whatever kind of sauce was in that box. Lots of stuff with rice and beans. Around Christmas time, when people would give us like ham and turkey, I know how to make stuff with like Christmas leftovers. We'd always, we never threw anything away. So yeah, our first meal was macaroni and cheese and tuna. And I had been out with this boy several times. We'd been dating at this point. I knew he could put down. He ate one bowl of my macaroni and did not ask for seconds. I was like, he don't like it. Sure enough, he did not like it. He was so polite, but now he makes fun of me all the time. Like, he always was like, yeah, remember the first meal you made for me? Because we were so poor growing up, I thought that was like a rich person's meal. I was like, ooh, I got meat in this. Like, I'm about to feed him like a king. The boy came from a decent amount of money in his family. I was not feeding him like a king. So all that to say, my mom very much operated out of stuff happened to us. We didn't create our circumstances, which, looking back, she created a lot of our circumstances, and I love her to death. She's a good friend of mine now, but she created a lot of our circumstances. They didn't happen to us. So if anything good happened, she would tell us, don't get used to this. It's not going to last. I remember anytime, like, church people would give us food sometimes, and there were times that we'd eat really good because people would give us food. And she would always tell us, don't get used to it, because when this runs out, we're back to the food pantry. Or people would let us, like, every once in a while, we would live with people at the church because we were, like, in between homes, or, like, our water pipes had frozen. There's just always stuff that come up. And my mom would always tell us, like, don't get used to it, because this ain't your house. This ain't gonna last. We're gonna go back to where we are. And so when I started dating Brett, my underlying thing in my head was, I had my walls up. I was like, don't get used to it. This probably isn't gonna last. When we got married, y'all, how sad is it? And I didn't even recognize this until yesterday. I was like, don't get used to it. It's not gonna last. I would pick fights with him over nothing, just because it was like things were going too good in my mind, I guess. Which doesn't make sense. But again, when you're operating out of a place of fear, you do stupid crap. You just do. In this business, when things would start going good, I would tell myself, and again, subconsciously, don't get used to it. It's not going to last. I was always like, okay, what's my plan B for when this business fails? What's my plan B for when Mark decides to shut down It Works tomorrow? And again, I wasn't consciously being negative, but in my head, because every good thing that had ever come along as a kid always left as fast as it came, so we never got used to it. So as an adult, every good thing that came along, I didn't recognize it as I'm creating better circumstances for my family. I recognized it as, okay, good things are happening, but it's just a matter of time before the bad comes back. And so when she was talking, I was like, holy crap. Like, how many times are we looking left and looking right because we're subconsciously derailing ourselves before we even get started? If you are somebody and you're like me and you're not all in this because you're like, well, it's too good to be true, probably not going to last, you're self-sabotaging yourself because you are not putting 110% into the business because you're worried about your backup plan of just in case this fails. It wouldn't fail if you went all in and gave it your all. So super short training tonight, but I hope that triggers somebody. Like, think, what is your underlying question that you keep asking yourself and that you keep sabotaging yourself with? Because I guarantee 99.9% of you have it. And if you want to unmute yourself and share, you're more than welcome to. Savannah, did yours trigger, or did you still not? No? Green bear, write that junk down next time. Does anyone have any questions or anything that you want to unmute or put in the chat? Either one. Like I said, this was super short, but when I heard it, I was like, that's too good not to share. Like, holy crap. Oh wait, I'm gonna go ahead and stop recording this. Again, super short. We are gonna stay on and do a work Zoom, so if y'all want to stay on, you're more than welcome to.